What's up, guys? Welcome back to the videos. And you might have seen in my last video a few weeks ago, it's been a while, that we drove up to Pennsylvania for the holidays, had some trouble with the truck, got that all sorted out, and I was like, hey, while we're home for a few weeks, we're gonna see some friends, do some car things, catch up on some builds, etc. But then your friends are getting the pastaroni, I'm catching the pastaroni, everyone's got pastaroni, and you end up coming back with no content, and it is what it is. So we're back down here in Florida, and I have boxes of stuff. Like I mentioned before, we're gonna be getting into DeFusco content yet again because I got boxes of stuff and we pretty much just gotta get to work at this point. So this is just gonna be a quick update video before I decide what I wanna start on first, because I'm still waiting on some things to come in, and ultimately where we're at in the grand scheme of things. So we'll start by going through the boxes of what has come in over the last few weeks since the last update. Starting off, as you guys know, the DeFusco is a 2005 cts-v LS6 car that we are building into a purpose-built drift car. So we cut out the front rat support here, we relocated the factory radiator, and we painted the bay. We have race motor mounts in there installed. We cleaned up the entire car, and this chassis has 237,000 miles on it, but it's the cleanest 237,000 mile car I've ever seen in my life. No rust, not even on the bolts. It's a true Southern car. So we have our LS6 here. LS6 got the heads all redone, and we just gave it a re-gasket, a Summit Racing Stage 4 Pro LS cam, a full trick flow valve train, and other than that, I left this thing untouched. It was a very clean motor when I cracked it open, so we're gonna run it. We have a steam port crossover kit here in the front. We have a kit in the rear as well that's gonna come up to the front, but it's a pretty simple setup, and I'm hoping to make over 400 horsepower with it. We'll see. I mean, she's got some miles on her, but this thing was maintained and it showed, so we'll see what happens. But what came first is this little piece from Summit Racing. It's the 25% underdrive bracket racer crankshaft dampener. Now, Summit makes dampers, apparently. I was gonna get a power bond unit for this car just like I have on the Black V, but I figured it was only like just about the same price. I wanted to try this Summit Racing setup. It's a really nice piece. It's a natural brush finish with a clear coat on top to help prevent corrosion and keep the finish looking nice. And it is a 25% underdrive. So the main accessory portion is smaller compared to the AC portion. Some guys were saying that they noticed the AC is a little smaller as well. So it's about 10% AC underdrive, 25% on the rest of the accessories. So we'll find out when we go to put the AC belt on if that is the case. And then, because it's an LS and I don't want to reuse those torque to yield bolts, I got a ARP crank pulley bolt. Next up on the list is this box from RevShift. Now from RevShift, I got an entire bushing kit for the whole car. So we have the rear two diff bushings that go into the subframe, front upper control arm bushings. We have a rear diff bushing for the front of the diff. We have subframe bushings for the rear. We have front lower control arm bushings. We have rear lower control arm bushings, and we have trailing arm bushings. On both V's, I have the RevShift shifter bushings and the RevShift transmission mount inserts installed. I've been using them on the Black V for a very long time. No complaints, good stuff, and it seems like their quality has kind of just like upped over the last few years. I've actually had a set of RevShift rear subframe bushings for the Black V for like 3 years now, and I've yet to put them in. So they'll go in someday when I decide to finally take that car apart. I got this Summit Racing engine damper in, and it's a nice looking piece. It looks really good on the front of this engine, and I just got it installed You know, I put it on and I got the ARP bolt installed here. I got it tightened down. It's fully pressed on, but I got it tightened down to the point that the engine started moving, because in order to get the proper torque on this bolt, I'm gonna have to have the engine installed and in gear, so that I'll be able to not have the engine spin. But the biggest thing is, now that this crank pulley is on, the timing cover is now centered. So basically the front main seal is centered on the pulley itself. So I'll be able to go around now and tighten all of these 10 mils. I'll pop the water pump off, it's just hanging, and I'll be able to tighten all these 10 mils and torque them down to like the 20 whatever foot-pounds that they need to be, and I'll be good with the front timing cover. Remember though too, you have 2 bolts for the timing cover that go into the oil pan. So I'm not gonna tighten those guys down, just because I will have to be pulling the oil pan off next week, hopefully, or in 2 weeks, to get that racing pan baffle in. The main reason I'm doing the whole underdrive thing is so that I don't overspin the power steering pump. The cts-v power steering pumps don't like high RPMs, so I'm hoping that with a 25% underdrive at high RPM, I'm not overspinning this pump, and I'll still be getting enough pressure through the system to steer. That's how I killed the pump in the black car. This pump right here, this guy right here, died from high RPM donuts at limiter, and didn't like it. I do plan on going with a turn 1 pump, which are also built with better bearings and things like that to spin faster. But in the meantime, if I start with like a Rock Auto pump for now, just to get it together and, you know, at the track, on the road, whatever it may be, this 25% underdrive will help, because I know some of the V guys that drift on stock pumps, underdrive crank pulley, no problems. I also have a big power steering pump cooler here. It's a 6-row cooler as opposed to the factory 2-row, and it's gonna sit right in that bumper opening, so that'll help keep the power steering fluid cool as well. So I'm just running the bolts in around the timing cover. Morgan got me this Cobalt 24 volt brushless 3/8 socket or ratchet. Has a big battery on it here, the extended run. I'm gonna get the smaller 2 amp hour ones for this. It's still not that heavy, but it'll just make it sleeker. But then she also got me the brushless motor 24 volt impact gun. This thing has already been a lifesaver for me, and then also a Sawzall to go along with it. So I am super hype on having power tools, because I've always just sat and done it by hand, and being able to just run around a timing cover instead of sitting here cranking one by one, it's so much nicer. Like, this is so much better than everything I've ever done before. So, pretty hype on the new tools. I'm just gonna get this buttoned up here and get that water pump on. All right, so we got the water pump all installed. I'm gonna probably grab a new idler or tensioner. This is the tensioner. Probably gonna grab a new tensioner. So that's why this guy's just kind of chilling here. And we're pretty much at a standstill, I think, for right now. I have a new knock sensor harness here, but that's not gonna go in until the engine's in the car, because I am gonna have to pull the intake manifold off and pull the valley cover for the lift plate, the engine lift plate. I mentioned, I think in the previous video, I have the coolant crossover here. So that goes from side to side. This will go to the factory location. And I got this one back here. The cts-vs don't have a rear coolant crossover, so I ended up adding one in to the back of the heads just for additional bleeding capabilities. And this will just tee in to where the steam vent line for the front one goes. Just it's gonna route across the back and be more towards the expansion tank. I did new sensors, new oil pressure sensor here. I did a new cam sensor here. I did a crank position sensor down below. And like I said, we got the knock sensor harness in there. So I still have to do the rear main, and I have a new barbell for the engine as well. I might try and take it all off with it on the stand. Otherwise, I'm gonna wait till I have the engine lift plate and then take it off the engine stand and pop all that stuff off. But otherwise, we're looking pretty good here, guys. Other than that, guys, we're back in Florida, and you know, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I really took a break over the last like month and a half from just creating content and having things to do and like just spending time in the garage. So, you know, now that I have a list of things, it's all about just drafting it out and, you know, knocking them out one by one. So that's what I'm going to be bringing you guys along for. So other than that, you know, thanks for hanging around, guys. Thanks for tuning in if you made it this far into the video, and expect us to get back to work on the cars in the next one. So thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon.